Let's keep it moving, fam. Let's keep it moving and grooving, man. Let's keep it moving. Keep it on moving. All right, Saints interior O line could be much improved, but they're walking a fine line. All right, we're gonna get into this one here, and this one here basically talks about the interior offensive line. We just talked about the exterior. How about the interior? Big position switch that has to be doing with field experience from tackle position. We ain't talking about none other but Trevor Penning, right? 3 seasons of bad to average results at the tackle position. Penning is shifting inside, a move both he and the Saints believe is natural and will be beneficial in the long run. Saints trying to they trying to turn the man into a successful NFL lineman. Left side, right side. And here we go to left guard, which this position probably will be his best one because playing the guard position not as demanding, right? He did better at the right tackle position. He never was supposed to be a left tackle. I was saying that the whole time. Oh, we're gonna put him there. It was a disaster, and now they're trying to redeem this man. He got athleticism. He took a hit with getting beat up and how his play was, but I think Penning in his final rookie year, he got the pressure to improve on him to see what he can do. So it's that last year, the third position shift, and he win the job over Dylan Runnets is yet to be determined. But that will he be facing? Final year of his rookie contract, getting an opportunity to prove if he deserves a second deal with the Saints. Joining Penning on the offensive interior, the Saints' two longest tenured offensive linemen, center Eric McCoy and right guard Cesar Ruiz, both of whom are coming off injury-plagued 2024 seasons, an unfortunate theme throughout the Saints offense. If Penning clicks and everyone stays healthy, admittedly big ifs, the interior of the offensive line could wind up being the Saints' greatest offensive strength this season. That is the key. The key. Now, I'm not crazy enough to accept the fact that this will actually happen because the reality is injuries happen. They will happen, whether to you play people in your special teams, your offense, defense. Injuries are going to happen. You just kind of look at it and say, man, as long as it don't happen back to back to back, I think we can deal with that, right? But yeah, that sounds good. But you don't have any control over that. All you have control over is picking up good depth in case of injury. You can control that. So we need to work on getting more veterans here. But anyway, Eric McCoy, 6'4", 303, 7 years in the league. Will Clapp is his backup, 6'5", 314, 8 years. Will Clapp, former 7th-round pick. Very intelligent offensive lineman. Not much athletically, but can be a decent option in terms of center, right? Feeling good about him. Guard positions. Cesar Ruiz, 6'4", 316, 6 years in the NFL. 6 years in the NFL, fam. 6 years in the NFL. Cesar Ruiz has been wow, that's crazy work, man, to me that man been in there for 6 years, man. I thought Cesar Ruiz was probably a lot better than what he been, to be honest with you. Thank you, Pamby, for being a member for 35 months. Shout out. The money out. Stay cool. Nobody gets hurt. Here we go. What's my time? Trevor Penning up next, 6'7", 325, 4 years in the league. Dylan Runnett, 6'6", 301, been in there for 5 years. How about this name for you? Nick Saldiveri, been in the league for 3 years and a whole lot of nothing. You're talking about Kendre Miller today, blue in the face. I don't hear anybody saying batting one damn word. Y'all notice that? Put one in the chat if you notice that. There's all these articles about Kendre Miller and what Kendre Miller, how he doing this and how he doing that, but not one article about Nick Saldiveri. The Saints basically handed Nick Saldiveri the starting job last year, coming into camp, and all he did was got hurt. Hell, he got hurt at the OTAs. Did you know that he had a calf issue at the OTA? Man, I mean, no, they never talk about that guy. Never, ever, 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 ever. They never talk about that man, fam. Okay, what up, AKZ? What's up, brother? Appreciate you. What's up, Bev Sanders, Greg Sanders, Reginald, Pammy, 1111111. I never say nothing. That's weird to me. We can sit up here and lambaste the hell out of them. All these, like Kendre Miller. If Kendre Miller, we're going to cut him. But not one. We ain't going to get rid of Nick Saldiveri. Been here for 3 years, ain't done nothing. He gets hurt every year. Hell, he was hurt this year. So when is it for Nick Saldiveri? I mean, when is it for Nick? I mean, I don't get it. Kyle Hergel, 6'2", 315, he's too small to be a guard, maybe a center, I guess. And Torricelli Simpkins, the third, 6'5", 312, like his tape, inexperience. So as you can see, the Saints have a lot of inexperienced players, and you look at Nick Saldiveri, been on Saints for 3 years, but he ain't done nothing. He got no playing time. And we talked about that before. Like Cesar Ruiz inside should be our best interior player outside of McCoy. 6 years in the league and not one Pro Bowl. I thought Cesar Ruiz should have been the best player on it. 6 years and all the games he played. And it's just mind-boggling. But these are some of the guys. Best case scenario before getting to Penning and his ideal outcome, the true best scenario for this Saints offensive line involves McCoy staying healthy the entire season. We'll see. Because McCoy has been dealing with injuries, not this year, but last year too. McCoy going through these injuries. Now, prior to that, I like Eric McCoy a lot. He's one of my favorite Saints. Yeah. Doc 5-4 says Saldiveri. He an old Italian name, right? Just like D, they know where the bodies are buried. Saldiveri, huh? Yeah, but I'm just saying, man. Like, what's up, King Eternal? Shout out to you. Yeah, he says he's more off cold type. Yeah, but see, the thing is, I'm saying at the end of the day, man, Nick Saldiveri, he was a 5th round selection. And maybe that's why they're paying attention to it, because what was Kendre Miller, a 3rd rounder? Wasn't Kendre a 3rd rounder? But be that as it may, they had starting aspirations for Nick Saldiveri. All he does is get hurt. And there's nothing, when Dennis Allen, the possum, set up there and he laid out Kendre Miller and was talking about this, that, and the third, and put Kendre Miller on the list, and he wasn't even hurt. But we don't see none of that happening with this other guy. I just don't understand, man. I don't get it. But you're right, off cold behavior. That's true. That's why we gotta call it out. We gotta play fair. We gotta make sure everybody get that equal weight. We gotta do that. All right. So anyway, McCoy has shown he can be durable, playing at least 99% of the team's offensive snaps in 3 of his 6 professional seasons, but he also battled through injuries in 3 of his last 4 campaigns. That's what I'm saying. Last 3 of the first starting year. And listen, that's called wear and tear. That's called wear and tear. That's called wear and tear, fam. Y'all hit the like button for me. That's wear and tear. When you see a guy like, when you see a man like with McCoy, right? When we see a guy like McCoy, and McCoy is getting hurt, like I said, he was hurt. He played in, half the season last year. And the weeks 1 and weeks 2, he was dominant. After he got hurt and he came back, he was half of what he was. He was half of what he was, which means when he came back, I don't think he was truly healthy. I know he wasn't truly healthy because that's not the Eric McCoy that I know. So I know that's why I chalked it up when McCoy looked like that last year. After he came back from those games when he was hurt and he played and then got hurt again, I was like, man, that's not McCoy. That's not, he was still hurt. And you could tell, even when he played a couple of games and kind of shook the rust off, he still didn't look right. And the man astutely lays it out, says that he was durable, playing almost 100% of the snaps the first 3, but battled through injuries the last 3. So missing 5 games in 21, 4 in 22, and a career high 10 last season. Fam, that's 5, that's 4, that's 10, that's 19. Over the last 3 games, I like what he's doing here because he's letting you know that in a tough NFL landscape, people start breaking down. If I'm a smart coach or GM, I'm noticing that McCoy missed 19 games. Did y'all know that? Because I didn't know it was 19. I ain't count the games. That's why I like the fact that the man laid it out over the last year, because they don't mention that. They talk about how good Eric is and all this stuff. And Eric is very good when he's healthy. But did y'all guys know that he missed 19 games over the last 3 years? Did you know that? Put it in the chat. Did you know? Because I damn sure didn't know. And I watched these games. But putting a number to it adds so much depth to it. It really does. 19 games. Let that marinate. He missed 5 in 21, 4 in 22, and 10 last year. That's 19 games. So when you start seeing happening injuries over and over again, you got to start going out there and say, hey, bro, we might have to start drafting a center, learn behind McCoy just in case, because it's a physical landscape. Stuff happens. We see what happened with our guy Ram. When Ram started off the first 4 years kicking ass, was one of the best one of the top 5, top 10. He's top 5 in my book. Offensive tackles in the game. And then right at the end of that fourth season, he got hurt, and then the rest of his career went to hell in a handbasket. He could not get around the injuries, and the man had to retire because he couldn't beat the injury monster. The injury monster beat on him. This happens to players. Not everybody Willie Roaf. Not everybody some of the guys that that can get through that. That's a tough thing to deal with. But when you see that, you got to understand, hey man, I got to pivot and maybe go and see if I can find a young guy that can groom. So if something happens, McCoy, we got somebody there. You see what I'm saying? But that's a lot of time for McCoy. That's crazy work, but very interesting though. It's a tough game, fam. It's tough. All right. So anyway, considering what the Saints are operating with at quarterback this year, it will be extremely beneficial to have McCoy on the field. Absolutely. Not only has he played at the Pro Bowl level when he's been on the field, he was Pro Football Focus #1 center. Last season before the injury, yes, he was. But McCoy's experience and leadership will take a big burden off a young quarterback in terms of identifying pressures and calling out protections. This is absolutely true because that's what McCoy does. He situates the offensive line. He's the brains of the offensive line. And that's what McCoy does so very well. But we need Will Clapp to do that too. We need Will Clapp to identify pressures and call out protections as well. We need the backup center to do everything the starting center to do. The New Orleans was undoubtedly better when McCoy was on the field last year. In the 5 games he played, at least 65% of the snaps, the Saints were 4-1 and scored 35 points or more 3 times. That's obviously not all on him, but he plays an integral part in the offense. This is true. But McCoy is a known commodity, and to a lesser degree, so is Ruiz. The big question mark is Penning, right? Now, listen, before we get to Penning, we got to pivot and stop on Ruiz because Ruiz need to step the shit up. Now, I've been saying this for a while, fam. Y'all know. And if you watch on Patreon, shop our Patreon champions, our YouTube membership family. On Patreon, we do the breakdowns. And when you watch the film, I pinpoint and show y'all in the film what Ruiz be out there. Ruiz don't always have his head on straight. I'm like, he make way too many mistakes for a man that been a Saint for like 5 years. And listen, Ruiz plays a lot of games. He should be our best interior offensive lineman. Hands down, he was a first-round draft pick who played center in college. They shifted him to guard. He struggled the first year or two. Really, the only solid year that I could say that that Ruiz was actually like on that level is, what was that? That was the season before he got paid. The season before he got paid is when that last year leading into whether or not the Saints should pay him. That's when he was balling, and then when he got the money, leveled out. He didn't keep going on no incline. Once he got paid, he found a little home there. Now, maybe that's a part of him just not pushing himself. That's a big part of him not pushing himself. Maybe that's tied to the offensive line coach not getting a lot of them. But we need to see a real Pro Bowler, not this fake garbage they did last year, handing out Pro Bowl nods because they like a guy or whatever. Because obviously it wasn't. I like McCoy, but McCoy didn't play well enough last year where he got a Pro Bowl nod. Come on, let's keep it real. He ain't played well. He played really good in 2 games, weeks 1 and weeks 2. I watched the damn tape. The rest of that stuff, man, you can miss me with that. So when they start giving Pro Bowl nods on 2 games, so that's just some garbage. I disrespect that fully. But in the end, we need him to play at a very high level, is what I'm saying. We need him to elevate to the best player that we ever seen. And then we looking at Ruiz in there smashing stuff, pushing over people, doing this type of stuff. You see what I'm saying? That's what I want to see from Cesar Ruiz. I want to see Cesar Ruiz be way better than what he is now. I think he could be way better. I don't think I don't know if it's something not there all the way. Maybe it's up to the offensive line coach, Brendan Nugent, to get it out of him. Maybe this scheme, this system that they're working on will be able to change some stuff. I don't know. Something got to happen. We need that guy to step the hell up for real. The big question is Penning. He flamed out at left tackle. The Saints moved to the right side where he gave them solid but not overwhelming good play. And now the new coaching staff, a group that includes new offensive line coach Brendan Nugent, is going to give him a long look at the left guard spot. In theory, the move makes sense. At his best, Penning is an aggressive, mauling run blocker who has the strength to dominate at the point of attack. At his worst, pass protection technique has fallen apart when he was asked to be in space. by moving him to the guard, the Saints are accentuating his strengths and minimizing his weaknesses. Well said. Well said. Absolutely well said. Absolutely. Because the thing about Penning, and you can study it on the film, we do it on the Patreon stuff, is that with Penning, his technique is flawed and it's inconsistent, right? You can see him really want to do the right thing. Like you'll see Penning do it some plays where he'll maul out, but a great deal of the plays that we were watching on film going in toward the later portions of the year, he would just be, it's just his technique sucks. And it's a shame because the offensive line coach is supposed to be like working on that. And every week he'll come out and he'll block too high. He'll be late to the party. And when I mean late to the party, you will see Penning not know. I don't know if it's a combination of him not knowing what it's got to be that, not knowing his plays, because he'll block a guy and stay with the guy. It'll be him and another offensive lineman blocking a defender. The moment the lineman engaged, you're supposed to slide off of that defender and go to the next level to catch the next guy. He didn't do that. And when he did do it, he was late to the party. So how much of that is just poor coaching by that stank offensive line coach we had last year, and Clint Kubiak, that garbage offensive coordinator? How much of that played into it? Because if you're a good coach, and we got good coaches out there, listen to the show. Y'all know if y'all an offensive line coach, you're not going to repetitively and consistently, week after week, roll out an offensive lineman and he keep doing the same bad non-fundamental stuff. Stand blocking too high where he erases his leverage. Guys walking him back. Not bending when he's supposed to, not knowing when to slide or shed off of guys that you blocking to get to the next level. Not understanding if you're going to be the lead blocker, if they have a toss play to the right and you're on that side, knowing that you got to get out front and get that guy before that defender get to your guy, right? We've seen a lot of times that Penning was late to the party. And that's the fact. That's preparation. He wasn't prepared correctly. Now, will Nugent come in here and get these guys leveled up on game? At the guard position, Penning could work. He could work because he is better run blocking than he is pass blocking. He definitely have the athleticism, and he's definitely a mauler as a part of his game. So putting him inside makes sense. The only thing is, will he be good enough to keep the job versus the guy that played guard his entire career in Dylan Runnitz? That's the only question I have, right? How patient will the Saints be with Penning at the time? Now, of course, Dylan Runnitz is coming in here. He on a cheap deal. It's a 1-year prove-it deal. So he's going to be motivated to get the job, because if he dominates, that means possibly that he can come in and get a contract, be a starting guard on a good team. Penning also has on the remaining year of his rookie deal, favors Dylan Runnitz more does it Penning, because Penning got to learn a whole new job. He got to learn a new job. So that's the big point about it. He's not over there with no competition. They got a guy that'll be fighting him for that spot in Dylan Runnitz. And Runnitz ain't coming here to be no backup. That's the bottom line, right? So anyway, now the new coaching staff, a group that includes new offensive line coach Nugent, is going to give him a good look. It makes sense. Pennis is aggressive. But by moving him to guard, the Saints are accentuating his strengths and minimizing his weaknesses. Essentially, the Saints are asking a 6'7", 320-plus pounder to play in a phone booth, which should be beneficial. He will have to prove he can handle some of the premier defensive tackles who play in the division. Vita Vea, Derek Brown. He have to be, but he ain't gonna be on no island though. Now it's a decent chance that guard Penning's natural position that he finally delivers on the promise that made the Saints select him at 19. The Saints don't want to say, okay, we took Penning and he a bust too. They're trying to find a spot for him. Physical ability has never been a question. If the light bulb clicks on, the Saints may position have an above average offensive line across the board in 25. I am definitely kind of rooting for Penning to get it, but it may go to the best player. Worst case scenario, if McCoy can't stay on the field, that could trigger a pretty rough domino effect for the Saints offense. We seen it happen last year, didn't we? New Orleans signed old friend Will Clapp this offseason for depth along the offensive interior. He can play 3 positions, but he don't pay him very well. That's like they said that shit about Nick Saldiveri. Well, Nick Saldiveri can play tackle, he can play guard, he can play center, but he don't play none of this shit very well. What good is playing all the positions you don't play them very well? He says, but there's a big gap between Clapp, I don't know if he mean to rhyme with that, who played 67 offensive snaps last year for Buffalo, and McCoy. It's definitely a it's definitely a talent drop. That's what I was telling y'all early on about getting in a position where the Saints should have drafted, or a player. Like you can draft a guy, and then groom him as a center. But anyway, it's an impact. McCoy impacts every phase of Saints offense, and there's only going to be more on his plate this year with an experienced quarterback lining up behind him. That's why we pay him the big bucks. If he deals with that injury again this year, it will be difficult for the Saints to navigate this loss, even with the talent around him. The 19 games, think about that, fam. The 19 games. What's up, Stace? The 19 games that McCoy missed over the last 19 years. I mean, 19 years. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm out here in my head with somewhere else. It felt like 19 years all this damn losing, but the 19 games that he's missed due to an injury over the last 3 years. That's something. Or, it makes sense. Like he could shake it off this year, but hey, that's a troubling trend because that means that he could be breaking down where he's getting these injuries, which means he can't be counted on that, which means that is Will Clapp, as smart as he is, it's an athletic deficit to Will Clapp. Now I know Will Clapp's smart enough to call out the protections and all this kind of stuff. I know he could do that, but it's a big drop in terms of the athleticism of a Will Clapp versus a McCoy, obviously, right? That's something to study upon. That's why I was like, the Saints would do themselves a service to get some more vets in here. Having another veteran center to compete with Will Clapp wouldn't hurt. Saints got all the money in the world, and having veterans there at the blind side tackle, like a veteran left tackle who can play right tackle if something was to happen, smart. Having another veteran center to compete with Will Clapp for the backup center position, smart. That just two very important positions cannot have any problems with. McCoy impacts that. So, and Penning is a gamble. Even with Dylan Runnets ready to take his spot, if he struggles, the fact of the matter is that Penning is just an idea at the guard right now. And even if it makes sense logically, it really may not be practical. His technique issues may just be pronounced inside as they were outside. And if there's one thing that can turn an otherwise good passing play into disaster, it's interior pressure. Regardless of, and I'm going to just keep it all the way funky, this should be an improved unit, but it's no slam dunk. According to the writer, he says Penning will play well enough to merit a modest extension. Let me just say this about Penning, and I like Trevor Penning, man, not to beat up on the young guy, because people been doing that for a while. I've been always the guy. What's up, KK? Shout out to KK, man. Much love. What's up, New Orleans? Shout out to y'all. Said Penning is a work of progress. Not the tools can put it together. King Eternal says, LOL, I hope McCoy stay healthy. But like you said, Q, yes. That, I told y'all, I was like, fam, McCoy been missing games. I told y'all I just did not know the number. Thank you to the writer, because he put a number on the games. And people are like, oh yeah, Q. But when you see there is a pattern, it ain't just a one, because people got this thing in their mind that, what happened to McCoy this past year, him missing all them games, was just an isolated incident. Q, he's just 1 year. He's going to be healthy next year. But what if you have 3 years of it and it adds up to 19 missed games? That's a problem, because McCoy is just too important. You got to have security there. But outside the Penning thing, shifting Penning inside does cover up a lot of his issues, but it does not cover up the fundamental issues of him blocking too high. Is somebody going to teach him to bend his knees, and stay there, to use his leverage, and how you going, and that might be a problem for a 6'7" tackle turn guard. Then he got a guy competing with him, because when they signed Dylan Runnets wasn't signed after they made the shift. Dylan Runnets was signed prior to them making a move. Dylan Runnets was signed when they signed Dylan Runnets, people had Dylan being the starting guy there. Then later on, things changed once we had Kellen doing all the shifting stuff. Then somebody in the building, hey man, could we do something with Trevor Penning? Because when they drafted, people thought they were going to keep Tolly at tackle, at left tackle, Penning at right tackle. But when Kelvin Banks Jr. got selected, they'd be like, Penning's out of a job. They denied his 5th-year option, basically making him an unrestricted free agent coming up next year. Dylan Runnets was already guard position, set up to start. Now they pivot and put Penning ahead of him because of the draft status. I'm a first-round draft pick. Saints want to try to get that pick as many opportunities to make the team, to the chagrin of Dylan Runnets. But all it does do is it provides a good flow of competition and another position that we can look at as a support base and say, man, they got a lot of good competition. We got the quarterback competition. We got, the backup running back position. We got who's going to be the third, who's going to be the young guys behind the top 3 wideouts that we got. we're gonna win that left guard position. It's something else. The punter competition, with burn up, that kind of thing, and even the kicker competition with Charlie Smith going against Blake Grupe. Don't overlook Charlie Smith. But at the end of the day, what I'm saying is it's another area of competition that we can look at and kind of and see who's better at. But Penning is behind the eight ball on there because Dylan Reynolds has been a guard for his career. Played a lot of games there. Stepping into that, Penning got an uphill battle. They might want him to succeed, but that don't mean he gonna succeed. What's up, Montreal? Who that to you, brother? Appreciate you. Y'all hit the like button for me. Yeah, he says, yeah. But the thing is, can Brendan Nugent teach Penning to fix his technique? I mean, even if, it's just, they say the light bulb going on. But the reason why he looks so bad is because his technique is not good. It's not good. I just don't see how professional coaches are not working with Penning last year to get all that iron out. Like that should have been a year. Last year should have been a year, but they got all that out of his system. Like all this bad technique. Yeah, I was bad. I was too high. I'm 6'7", 320 pounds, and I'm trying to block people high, and I'm losing my leverage. But they just push him over, or open him up like he had one of them revolving doors at them expensive hotels. It just spin him around in that shit. But I mean, it's just that has to change. You put him at guard, yes, it's a little closer there, but still, a guy charging in on him, if he blocking up too high, he's gonna moonwalk him back into the quarterback's lap. So you still, regardless of where you move him, you still gotta fix the technique. We can't get around that. We're gonna move him over here. We're gonna move him over here. We're gonna move him over here. You still gotta fix his technique. His technique is bad. Let's hope this offensive lineman can get that done, man. For real, man.